Welcome to the Quantum Recovery Podcast, everybody. This episode was promised a while back. I had told you I was going to share about the sun and the sun, healthy sunlight protocols. I thought this was perfect timing because right now we're in the height of summer and when we're learning and people are, like me, are presenting you with new ideas. I want you to be equipped and to be in season. So right now it's a perfect time to do some of these needle movers that I've talked about in the past. Needle movers being seeing sunrise, getting that UVA light, and also blocking blue light at night. Critical for people in early recovery being that first 2 years. And if you're listening to this in long-term recovery, even more critical because it's very likely you have some kind of underlying health issue and you are not feeling good. That is the feedback I am getting. People are we're living in a modern world. Our environment's making us sick. And these simple things can really catapult us into thriving in our recovery, taking our health into our own hands. So today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just break down the importance of getting light breaks. What I mean by that, you've heard me talk about this periodically, and I've never kind of put it all in one episode. So that's what today is all about. So the reason the sunrise is so critical is because it's really going to set us up for success for the whole entire day. It's going to kick that cortisol on. Think of sunrise as your hormone regulator. It is, and your eyes are the thing that's taking in the signal. So it's really important to remember not to cover the eyes with sunglasses, contacts, or your eyeglasses. Obviously, make sure that you're being safe and you can see. My normal gig, I usually have my glasses on my head and I'm wearing my blue blockers when I'm on here. But when I'm out walking, I just have my glasses just in case I need them handy. But I can safely walk without my glasses on. So that's what I'm doing to get as much of that sunlight as possible. Remember, that is one of the ways that we collect electrons. We're voltage beings, we're electricity. We want to be at a negative charge. And part of one of the ways we get energy, we don't just get it from our food. Remember, we also get it from our light environment and grounding. In the morning, when you're getting that sunrise, I like to go for a walk, but it took me a few months to habit stack that because it's a lot to take on a bunch of behavior change right away. And for those of us in recovery, we very well know this. It's no secret. When we're learning in our recovery, we're learning about all these things that we're supposed to do. I'm supposed to do meditation. I'm supposed to go to meetings. I'm supposed to do all these things, right? It can be really overwhelming. So I want this to be easy for you. Habit stack it. Is there something you could be doing outside in the morning? Maybe watering the flowers, watering your lawn. Doing something is helpful, not just standing out there. I tried that at first. I would just be like, okay, I got to be in sunrise. Here I am, barefoot in my grass. I got to be out here for what? At least 5 minutes. They say, you know, 30 is good. Well, that wasn't productive. I was bored. So then I started going out there and reading. Eventually, I did work myself up to want to go for a walk, but I don't do that in every season. Right now, I'm doing it because it's summer and it's, convenient before work. I still have enough time to get ready. But as the seasons shift, my habits will shift. And I have come to accept that. But it also takes some adjusting to the new thing because we'll have to pull some things away as the seasons change and introduce different things. So, all that to say, getting that, so if you have something that you're healing, whether it be an underlying health condition, mental health, if you're in the first 2 years of recovery, it is suggested for a therapeutic dose to be out there for 30 to 60 minutes if you can. Now, that is going to vary. It doesn't have to look perfect. Some days you might only get out there for 5 minutes. Some days you might miss it. It's okay. Give yourself some grace. Do what you can. But sunrise is that most critical. Like that's the one that should be the non-negotiable. For me, it got to that point because now I'm in sync with nature and I don't want to miss that sunrise. It feels too good. It is how I got addicted to the sun, basically, is that morning sunrise. I still drink coffee in the mornings, full disclosure, but I don't need the coffee. I don't drink the coffee right away. I used to wake up and need to, you know, drink it right away. And now the first thing I want to do is go get that light. That light outside is what wakes me up because it's kicking my cortisol on, and it's all my hormones are appropriately being triggered in the cascades that they're supposed to cascade in. Our modern world is really messing up people's hormones. It's dysregulating things. It's because of the artificial light and the environment. We're not getting the right signaling. And then getting out for as many light breaks as possible during the day is ideal. You can use the Circadian Life app it gives you little reminders to go outside. And, this is what we chat about in my group. Like everybody's life is different. Everyone's going to have different challenges. Some people are going to be working in offices, maybe high rises where the windows don't open. And there's going to have to be more effort on their part to like go out and get light breaks, those kinds of things. So all of our habits are going to be, or routines rather, they're going to look different. But making that sunrise a critical time. And sunrise is, that first hour of sunrise, you're not going to burn. Our society has really demonized the sun. It's good light that you're getting. It's healthy light signaling. It's got the beautiful spectrum and full light spectrum of that, the near infrared and the far infrared and all of the colors of the rainbow, the Roy G. Biv. And you don't need to go chasing the sunrise. You don't need to go finding it and watching it. You can. That's wonderful if you can do it. But I used to think that I had to do that. No, it's okay to just get outside, just be outdoors. So if you're in your backyard or your front yard or what have you, my sun rises in my front yard. So that's where I go. But now it just makes most sense to get my body moving. So I like to go on a 15 to 20-minute walk. Some days it's longer, but on a day where I, am just getting, my regular dose, I like to be out there for 20 to 30 minutes. That's really ideal. Typically, if I'm going to do everything to go on a walk, I'm not going to just go on it for 10 minutes. Like I'm going to be out there. And I've made this might be helpful for somebody. So I'm just going to say what I do. What I do is I look forward to listening to certain podcasts or books that I've purchased, audiobooks. So I download those things. I make sure my phone is on airplane mode because you do not want to be sucking electrons out of your body by having your Wi-Fi on your phone on or your signal on and then having that touching your body or holding it in your hand. Because that's like, it's sucking out the electrons out of your body and dehydrating your cells while you're trying to collect electrons and, bring that negative energy back, and negative meaning negatively charged energy back into the body. So make sure that you download something that you're looking forward to listening to. When I'm searching for things that I want, or maybe there's a podcast episode that I follow that I know I'm going to want to listen to that episode, it's downloaded on my phone. I know it's ready and I look forward to that. And I've created a boundary. I don't listen to that stuff during other times of the day unless I'm researching something. I like a guest for the podcast or something like that where I have to. But what I find enjoyable, that's for me to fill my cup, I make sure it's something I'm looking forward to. That gets me out on my walk. And now I don't want to miss it. But it wasn't always like that. It took a while to get there. Just be consistent. Consistency is really key. So even if you get outside for that sunrise for 5 minutes one day and the next day you missed it because something happened or your kids this or that, life happens, life's lifing you. Yep, that's going to happen. But then the next day you get out there for 10 minutes. Maybe the next day you're like, okay, maybe I will go for a walk. But you might not do that for every single day right away, but just getting the habit of that so you can start feeling what it feels like to have that energy from the light, from the sun. That's our energy. My drug of choice was stimulants. Now my drug of choice is the sun, and the sun is a stimulant. The sun's going to wake us up in the morning. It's going to hit that cortisol. So I've spent a lot of time on sunrise. I think you all get it. So now the next phase of the sun that's going to come up is UVA. Now, UVA is very important because think of UVA as the neurotransmitter cascades that are going to happen. So, we want to regulate our dopamine. We want to feel joy again. And when we're in early recovery, our neurotransmitters are trying to get back online. Well, trust me when I tell you, they're not going to if you are in a light environment that is full of artificial light at the wrong times of day. It's simply not happening. You're not going to trigger those proper dopamine pathways if you're not getting these light signals. And this is, I believe, why people are not feeling good. And it takes them a while to, get out of that anhedonia and, just not feeling good. It's because they're not doing anything they might just not know. It's no fault or no shame of anyone, but they just might not know that these light signals are super important. Now, for people in early recovery, it's really, really critical that this UVA rise, even if you get it for 10 minutes. And I was really intimidated about getting UVA rise at first because I was told, oh, well, it's when the sun is 10 degrees in the sky. And the thing I was listening to at the time didn't go into any other explanation. So I was like, how in the hell am I supposed to know when the sun is 10 degrees in the sky? So the Circadian Life app, and I am not an affiliate of this app. It's just a wonderful app that I want you to have as a resource. So the sun being 10 degrees, it's going to let you know when UVA is out. With your latitude, because it'll know where you're at on this planet, what latitude you are, and then you'll know where that UVA rise is at. And going on a UVA walk, if you can, if your schedule allows it, wonderful. Wonderful if you can do that. Most of us, that falls, depending on the season, around 9:30 to 10:30, like that kind of late morning. And so that time can, for some people, is difficult to go outside. But if you're working at a desk or computer and you have a window, do open the window. Having the Iris computer software on your screen to, be able to control the brightness and that artificial light is good also. I have all of that like on my computers right now, but I still wear my blue blocking because I do need a little bit of brightness to see color on my computer for my job. So usually I'm not dimming that down until it's later in the day. So that's why I still wear my blue blockers. But regardless, back to that UVA, you're going to open a window. You're going to crack a window if you can, or a door, opening a door. Make sure that it's not covered with glass. Either have it open to the outside elements, or at least the screen needs to be open. But the best thing we can do, of course, is getting some of that light in our eyes. No glasses, no sunglasses, no contacts. Again, I stopped wearing contacts because it was inconvenient for me to get my light. And now that's the biggest priority of my day for my health, is getting those light breaks. Even if it's just 5 to 10 minutes here and there. Some days I don't get my UVA as long as I want to consistent. So I feed the dogs at a certain time in the morning, anywhere from like 9 to 10. They start really like, where's my food? So that I actually take an opportunity to go out for a light break then, because I'm feeding them anyways. So that's, just think about what you're doing around that time of day and try to stack it with something already that you have to do. I have to feed my dogs every day at that time. They're expecting it. So that's how I habit stacked my UVA light into my schedule. But get creative with your own schedule and just know that it's a really critical time. So remember that sunrise is a hormonal, and then the UVA rises those neurotransmitters that are going to be really important, because that actually triggers another whole set of hormone cascade in at UVB rise. So and also the sunrise and the UVA rise, it's gonna prep your skin to be protected. you're not going to burn if you're getting this appropriate light. And then, of course, you got to be smart about the UVB, because just remember, B for burning. If you're outside too long in the UVB, yeah, you will burn. We have to be smart about it. The vitamin or the D-Minder app is going to let you know how much vitamin D you got, and it's going to let you know when to get out of the sun. It calculates like how much clothes you're wearing. If there's an overcast, that's a good thing to do. And if you can, in that UVB rise, so this is high noon, kind of solar noon time, this is when blue light is the brightest, because this blue light's the timekeeper of the eye. That's the color that is letting us know what time it is. So being out there with no glasses, no contacts, no sunglasses, bare eyes again, and try to expose your calves and your belly, because this is going to be where you activate POMC, and that actually cleaves into 10 products. And I'm not going to get into the nitty gritty of that today, but what I'll have you know is that a very important pathway is the dopamine that's happening there. So this is critical. Like, we do want all these signals. And also, for those of you who might be listening to this who aren't in recovery, I feel like everybody's in recovery from something, but like, it's going to be helpful for no matter what you're dealing with health-wise, no matter what chronic disease we're talking about. This is really healthy for our mitochondria. It's healthy to help them make the water that they need, because we're getting that infrared light all day, and because that's present and that's helping hydrate our cells. There's way more to hydration than just drinking water, and I'm not going to get into that in this episode, but you will be tuning in, hopefully, to the Quantum Healthy podcast the next couple weeks. We're going to be diving deep into the topic of water. So this is part of it. It's all connected. All the things are connected. So the other thing that's happening too in these morning hours of the sun are, even though melatonin turns on at night, it's actually being made in the mitochondria. So this is also being triggered. And so it's very, very important, because melatonin is it's a very healing hormone, especially for people in recovery. We want that melatonin to be kicking on and turning off at the right times of day. So I forgot to mention that for the beginning one, or for the beginning ones I was talking about, because now we're talking about the UVB light. So depending on your area and your latitude, this is going to be anywhere from like noon to 3-ish. You're going to be able to collect that vitamin D. Right now, where I'm at, I can still collect vitamin D, I think, till like around 4:30, but the UV index is going to get lower. And you're going to start to learn these things as you connect with nature. You're going to start to, you're going to look at the D-Minder app when you're getting that vitamin D, and you're going to know, vitamin D being a hormone also, you're going to get familiar with it, and then you'll start to feel really connected to the sun, really connected to nature, earth. It's a pretty amazing feeling. Another thing that UVB light is going to be doing, it's going to be diversifying that gut microbiome, and we want to have smart sun exposure. So remember, plug in all your information into the D-Minder app, and you will not burn. You're going to be building what Dr. Jack Kruse calls your solar callus. And this is really important, because this is going to, you're not going to need to wear chemical sunscreen. You might wear a sunscreen that is physical, what we call a physical sunscreen. So you can use like zinc or something. That's really not bad for the skin, but you very likely won't even do that. So, your clothing's protecting you. If you're out in the sun and you can't control the fact that you're in the sun, I wear a hat. I put a hat on once I know that my vitamin D, and I used to think that I should burn every year, so then I could start to have my skin turn into a tan. I've always been very light skinned and very sensitive, and I burned all the time. It was because I never got the appropriate light signaling to hold a tan. So for those of you who are in that category, the really light skin, you're going to slowly build that solar callus. They are going to slowly build that. And when you start being tan, that's actually a sign of health. And if you have darker skin, the darker your skin, the longer you will have to be out in the sun because you have more melanin in your skin. And the D-Minder app is going to let you know how long you have to be in the sun. But just know if your skin is darker, you're going to have to be in the sun a little bit longer than people who have the lighter skin. And well, I guess I can mention it. You know, the reason people with darker colored skin have a lot, like they're prone to more chronic disease, more health issues. A lot of times it's related to the fact that they're not out in the sun as long as they need to be, because that melanin is a really protective factor. And our modern world, we're not out in the sun. We're not getting those light signals. We're all living 90% of our lives indoors. So I don't have the details to share a lot more on that with you, but there is research and things like that people are sharing about that in the quantum health space. Okay, lastly is sunset. So again, you don't need to see the sunset, but just go outside, try to get outside before the sun sets. And as that sun is setting, that's when we want to put on our orange blue blockers. So we're protecting our eyes and we're respecting the fact that it's dark. But that sunset is going to close the day. It's going to drop that cortisol and it's going to release the pineal melatonin. That's going to be really protective and it's really going to clean up and that cellular damage and everything that we need cleaned up, especially when we are in recovery from addiction. We need that clean up. Addiction just makes every single mental health issue, it makes every single health issue worse. So we have to kind of double down. We have to really, we have to be, I mean, it's a non-negotiable in my book. What does Jack call it? He calls it, Dr. Jack Cruz calls it Tina. I can't remember what Tina stands for. Oh, there is no alternative. I want you to think of light and getting this healthy light and the signaling as Tina. There is no alternative. We need to get these light signals. So the UV index is going to be dropping below 5, depending on, of course, where you are in the world. Sunlight's going to be below the horizon. And this is it's preparing your body for nighttime. And, really, really important is blocking blue light at night. So this is the time where in sunrise and sunset, it's also a time for it's really nice to get all that red light therapy. You're getting that red light therapy free outside. It's the best spa and it's free. So it's a wonderful time if you are being able to see the sunset, especially from your yard or where you live. That is such a luxury, right? But remember, we don't need to actually see it. We can just be outside and we are experiencing the natural light that is happening, the full spectrum. We're getting all the goodies in. And as you start doing this, and it's not going to look perfect. When I started doing it, I wouldn't typically even hit all 4 in one day. When I started, I just was like, okay, sunrise is really important. Got to get that in. And, slowly but surely, I was feeling the effects. I was feeling better. Things were starting to just feel like it was right. Like, oh, I'm feeling really good. This is how I'm supposed to feel. My hair started to grow. Just things started to be different in my body. And remember, I was at the time started doing these things consistently was about 2 years ago, but even before that, when I didn't know I was doing quantum, but I was doing the blocking the blue light, sleeping better, it just slowly for me happened over time. Because guess what? I didn't have a podcast like this to listen to. I was listening to other podcasts where people were gradually learning about this stuff and it was kind of coming up and there was probably things I could have been listening to, but I just didn't know of them. So I just didn't know what I didn't know. So I was listening to what I was listening to, and slowly but surely I was learning along with them because they were learning it and interviewing people, learning more about it and then as time went on, I just started, that's how I fell into the quantum rabbit hole, if you will, and started down this path of learning about how important this stuff is. And as I started learning about it, I was like, holy buckets, this is a really critical for people in recovery, because if I'm starting to feel good, I can imagine like a lot of other people in long-term recovery who have health issues of all kinds, the whole spectrum, and wouldn't they love to know about this information? This is why I'm sharing it with you. I share about this and have a live call every month in my quantum recovery reset. So this is what the quantum recovery reset, we talk about the foundations and the science behind this, and I give you everything that you need so you can make these choices for your health, and you can know why you're doing it. Okay, Andeea, I need sunrise. It's the biggest needle move, or it's one of the needle movers. Why do I need to do it? Now you know. I've explained some of the reasons why. It's critical to our health, and just remember, everything in our body is connected. I'm only touching on some of the benefits. Your cellular health, mitochondrial wise, your mitochondria are going to start running more efficiently. Your inflamed electron transport chains are going to they're swelling when inflammation, they're swelling. They're going to start to come closer together. And all of those respiratory proteins are going to start being able to pass electrons properly. It's going to give you more energy. I can't remember how many times I process that with people. The low energy. Well, what do we do when we're experiencing post-acute withdrawal syndrome and we have all these symptoms stacking on top of each other? It's triggering. It's triggering when we don't see things getting better. Well, let me tell you right now, if you start doing the sun practices, there is no alternative. Tina, when you start doing these things, you're gonna feel, especially if you're in those first 2 years of recovery, you're gonna start to feel those symptoms go down. Why do I know this? Why can I say this? Because every single one of those symptoms are studied. Post-acute withdrawal syndrome, if you look that up in like PubMed, you're not going to find a lot of research. Why do you think that is? I think it's because there's so many symptoms. There's just so many. It would be very hard to do research study on it. Now, if you, let's say anxiety or adrenal fatigue or, low energy or whatever is your issue, brain fog, what have you, sleep issues, all those things are studied extensively in regards to circadian rhythm and also in regards to different drugs of choice, alcohol, opiates, methamphetamine. And we do know with the research that addressing circadian health is very important for people in addiction recovery. Very important. Because I would argue that addiction is actually, it's very circadian. Because what do we do in our active use? We isolate. We're inside all the time. Because for me, I was paranoid. I was never going outside. And when I did go outside, it was not in the sunrise. In fact, it was the complete opposite. Once it was dark outside, nobody could see me. I felt more safe because I was paranoid. So my whole way I thought was literally my circadian rhythm on the flip side. My goodness, when the sun was rising, that was a sign party's over. Go back inside and hide. And I don't know if anybody can relate to that, but that was me for many, many years, 12 years. I was like that. So think about the damage I did to my circadian rhythm and that what we do to our circadian rhythm when we're in active use. We're not talking about this enough. Very passionate about sharing this. And I really hope that you take into serious consideration to just start with that sunrise. Just do that one small thing. And if you don't want to start there because maybe you can't wake up that early or whatever your thing is, then start with blocking blue light at night. I'm not going to talk about that today in this episode, but I'll just end with that. And just remember, you can join me in the Quantum Recovery Reset, and I can hold your hand and literally help you. I'm here to help you. I'm here to help you feel better, and I'm here to help you on this journey to learn about light, water, and magnetism and how it helps us take our health into our own hands. So I'll leave it with that. There'll be a link in the show notes for all the things that I mentioned, and I hope you have an amazing week, and I'll see you next time. Drink water. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you found value in this information. And if you did, please share it. Another way to support the podcast is to leave a 5-star review. If you want to connect, you can message me on Instagram or email me at andearay@outlook.com. And remember, drink water.